started? Great. So just the paragraphs. You know you have to write your introduction, okay, which includes some background information and all that stuff. That is already in the slides, which are up here. So you already have to write an introduction, okay? And what you have to put in the introduction is in here. Okay, I'm not gonna go through this because that's quite simple, okay? The important thing is how to write this. And you can see that you have 3 parts to it. SEC, statement, evidence, comment. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. The big thing that you have to get right, I mean, you have to get all of this right, but the comment is the thing where the grades are really going to come in. Okay? Because for this standard, you have to develop conclusions, which means you have to take evidence that you found and develop it, go further, interpret it, find a new understanding based on that evidence. Okay? So, here is a random topic I chose. I decided to talk about animal rights, in particular in the USA with dairy farming. Okay? So my focus question here is how and why do animal rights activists support animal rights? Okay? So is this going to be about a pro group or an anti group? A pro group. What are the key words that are telling you that here? Support. Good. So, this part in yellow is my statement. Okay? One of the key ways that animal rights activists support animal rights is by carefully transforming the negative image of dairy farming giants. Okay? So they transform the image. Actually, I should have written this differently. Carefully transforming the image of dairy farming giants into something negative. I just realized I should have written it that way. Into a negative one. So this first sentence must answer the question that you pose here. If you write this and it does not answer your question, you need to rewrite it so that it answers the question in a specific way. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now this answer should be based on the evidence. So really what you should do is have a look at your research chart for that source and figure out what evidence am I going to use? What is this evidence actually telling me that is answering the question? And you can find that information probably in the relevant information box on your sheet. Okay? If your question, though, is about how and why do animal rights activists support animal rights, if it's about a perspective, you might also find that evidence in the perspective box, you know, with the 4 little things, and also in the social actions box. So the whole thing might be relevant. For this type of question, the whole thing, the whole source sheet is going to be relevant to you. Is that clear? So this is a random thing that I found on the internet, okay? Jay Cook, so I'm just assuming I've done all the research chart for this, so pretend. Jay Cook from National Hog Farmer, this is the particular organization. So I'm telling you in here, this is the organization who wrote this, okay? Wrote that activists infiltrate farms, that means they kind of go undercover, and this is my quote, notice how I put the quote marks in here, use shock and sensationalism to gain media coverage and ultimately impact public opinion and disrupt markets. Okay, so this quote here now tells me, okay, I've got something that answers the question. I've done the S, I've got the E, what is left? The comment, okay? So the comment has to be a new understanding or an interpretation and then a development of this quote. It should not be a restatement. It should not be, I'm just going to repeat the words of the quote. So for example, if I were to write, this suggests that activists, do you guys know what an activist is?
Yeah.
An activist, okay, I should have checked that. An activist is somebody who is like in a pro group, who carries out social actions in order to achieve a goal. Like they protest, or what else do activists do? They infiltrate farms, or they post on social media, this is wrong, don't do this. That's an activist. It's somebody who acts. Does that make sense? Okay, so this suggests that activists use shock tactics and try to reach the media and affect public views. Is this a good answer?
Yep.
Who said yep? Why is it a good answer? Woody? Did you even read it?
No, I just read it like end of there.
Maybe you need to just move so that you can see it, by the way. So this suggests that activists use shock tactics and try to reach the media and affect public views. This is
just a cute. The idea from so cute.
This is just a restatement of the question. Sorry, not of the question, of the evidence. So this is
Not
wrong, not achieved. Okay? This is not achieved. It's not achieved because it uses the same terms, but that's not even the problem. Public views, public opinion, it changes a few of the terms, but you're not saying anything new. And remember, the comment has to be something new. You have to go further than this evidence. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to make sure you're going further. If you're just repeating what the damn quote says, you will not pass. However, if you go further and start talking about something else, like a perspective, an ideology, something in the context that is relevant to the question or the topic, that's very good.
Wow.
Here is an example that I've prepared earlier. That should help you. So, this is all part of the comment, and I'm going to just talk a little bit about it. What this teaches me is that a main tactic that animal rights groups use, that should have an S, is to affect the perception of the public. Technically, in this sentence, I'm not really adding much more, but I am preparing to add more because what I've done is I've synthesized the key ideas. Okay, so I've taken this idea, and I've put them together into, okay, the goal that they're trying to do is to affect the perception of the public. Perception is what? Thinking?
Opinion.
It's opinion, it's what you see, it's what you think is real. Okay, you as the public have a particular perception. You have a particular view on things, right? What the activists are trying to do is to affect that perception. Remember how when we had that image last week, we had the pro and the anti group over here, and we had in the middle society? So the pro group, the activists, are trying to change the perspective of the society in the middle. Is that clear? That's what this is saying. Now, look at this. I keep going. Because they value the ethical treatment of animals, they post videos of cruel animal practices in order to make others realize how unethical dairy farming is. Because they value the ethical treatment of animals. This because part is a reason, right? And it comes straight from where?
Research.
Where in the research chart would I find this?
The value section.
The value section of this group, which is question 3, I think, in your 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Wow, you've already done that thinking so easily you can just plop it in. And it answers the question because the question not just asks how, it asks why. So we have the why in the here, and it tells you they post videos of this. That's a social action, so that is a how. I've just answered my question, but I'm gonna go further. They therefore support animal rights by raising awareness of places where animal rights are not upheld. So I'm going deeper now. I'm trying to interpret what is it that they're actually doing. And that's what you should be doing. You should be interpreting, not repeating, but interpreting. And in order to interpret, you have to actually process. It has to go into your head. What they are doing, whatever you researched, has to actually go into your head, and you have to put it in your own words to really understand what specifically are they doing and for what purpose. Does that make sense? Okay. And finally, their actions often disrupt markets, because I've just taken that from the quote. So this might be because they have a conservationist ideology more than a capitalist viewpoint. Where do these come from? The perspective, particularly group, the box number 4, the ideology box.
Why they are value?
Sorry?
Why they value this?
Exactly, the why do they value this section. Yep, and that already is not included in the quote. Do you see that? It's not in the quote. You can only know this if you've analyzed it, if you've thought about it yourself. If you can give me something like this,
Excellent.
well, one of these is not enough for excellence, let's be clear. Okay?
How many?
There's no number. Just answer all your questions like this and you're doing really well. Obviously, if you want to go beyond this, so this is easily achieving. This might be a merit so far if the rest of them are also in this quality.
So we do the 6 times.
One for each quote. One of these for each source. And because you have 6 sources, that counts up to 6 paragraphs. Yeah? If you want to add another quote at the end over here, let's say you've got 2 really good quotes from that source, you can say, in addition. And then you can give me another quote, and you can repeat so that it's SECEC. Does that make sense? So you've got another piece of evidence and another comment over there. That's likely to push you even further towards excellence, because you can combine the understandings into something greater. Okay? That's all I wanted to kind of teach you, that it is not about repeating the information, it's about developing a new understanding. Okay? Any questions before we turn off the video?
What not to do?
Sorry?
You haven't explained what not to do.
I have explained what not to do at the very beginning.
Okay.
I said to you, what not to do is don't restate this.
Yeah.
Yep, don't just rewrite it.
That's it.
That's the biggest problem that I've seen students have before when I've taught this. They just retell me what is in the quote. And I'm like, I can read. I don't need you to tell me what's in the quote. I need you to develop it into a new understanding, which means you put it through your own head. And it changes into something else. I mean, when you write it, it doesn't come out of your ear. Anyway, cool? Okay, you can turn it off.